President Saleh confirms that SBC is the only legitimate ruler in Yemen. New wave of Saudi terrorist attacks on Yemeni governorates. Yemeni academics stage protests in front of the United Nations office in Sana'a. Good evening and welcome to Yemen Today's News. I'm Ali Nasr al-Khamri. The head of General People's Congress and former President of the Republic, Ali Abdullah Saleh, delivered a speech today in Sana'a to address the latest development on the national arena. In his speech during a ceremony that honored army veterans, the head of General People's Congress confirmed that the Supreme Political Council, led by Saleh al-Sammad, is the only ruler and representative of the Yemeni people. He also stressed that Yemenis are the only body that's responsible to choose the rulers without any foreign hegemony, as it is happening now by Saudi regime that tries to impose its paid loyalists on power. He reminded the new invaders that they will face the same destiny of those who occupied Yemen in the past and were forced to flee the country by Yemeni resistance. He also reiterated his previous statement about changing the occasions in Yemen and the whole region in the frame of the new development in the region. The former president called on the Arab countries to withdraw from the Saudi war coalition against Yemen, as it is only proved guilty in killing the Yemenis and destroying their infrastructure. The Saudi regime has resumed waging its terrorist attacks against several areas in Sa'da. According to local sources, the Saudi army launched heavy artillery bombardment on Al-Sheikh and Al-Umar area in Munabbih bordering districts. The Saudi aircraft also carried out new series of airstrikes on other districts. In Kitaf, the Saudi warplanes made an air raid against Al-Far' area hours after targeting Al-Malil with 3 airstrikes and Al-Buqa with an air raid. The Saudi jets have also hit Al-Habajir area of Sahar district with airstrike. Earlier, the Saudi jets made similar attacks on Al-Bahir and Baqim districts. The Saudi warplanes continued their raids on Ta'iz governorate southwest of Yemen. Local sources confirmed that the Saudi jet fighters hit Khalid camp in Mawza' district with an airstrike. Earlier, the Saudi warplanes waged 2 airstrikes on Mawza' district. They also waged other 2 airstrikes against Al-Kidayha area of Mocha district. In Sana'a governorate, new air raids were made by Saudi jets on Nehem district. Local sources in Nehem told Yemen Today that the Saudi warplanes made 4 airstrikes on Maswara and Al-Hawl areas amid intensive flying over the district. The Saudi raids come hours after similar Saudi raids along with land incursions by Saudi-based groups. The Saudi warplanes made new attacks against Hajjah governorate northwest of Yemen. Local media reported that the governorate confirmed that the Saudi jets hit Hayran district with an airstrike. The Saudi jets attacked Al-Jar area in Abs district in conjunction with series of air raids on Harab and Midi districts. In Hudaydah, the Saudi aircraft renewed its attacks against the governorate. Local reports stated that the Saudi jet fighters have waged 2 airstrikes on Al-Jah junction in Bayt al-Faqih Directorate. Earlier in the same governorate, the Saudi warplanes made 4 airstrikes on Al-Jabana area of Al-Halli district. A group of academics gathered in a protest stand in front of the United Nations office, demanding the United Nations to fulfill its commitment and find a solution to the salaries problem.
These are the academics of Amran University and their assistants, and some of the administrative staff came far away from Amran province to Sana'a to participate in a protest in front of the office of the United Nations, demanding the payment of their salaries, which have been stopped since a year now.
Actually, we came here to demand the United Nations and the other human rights organizations to force or obligate them in the authorities in Aden to pay our salaries. As you know, I mean, we are without salaries for more than 1 year. The authorities, of course, transfer them in the central bank or the Yemeni central bank to Aden and promise the international community to pay the salaries for all the civilian sectors across the country. But unfortunately, 1 year passed and we didn't receive any salary. We came here just, to remind, the United Nations that the responsibility on the government in Aden because, of the transferring of the Yemeni central bank. And we would like to tell the international community that we are academician, in which we are not involved in this political and military conflict.
There was no option for them after being without salary that led these academic people to be needy and exposed most of them to poverty. They came in front of the United Nations for help to seek those on charge to solve the salaries problem in fulfillment of the international commitment.
First of all, I'd like to call upon the Yemeni warring parties to stop war and to stop war right now, because war leads to misery, hardship and calamities. Yemeni people have been suffering for a long time, more than approximately 3 years, and these people have been suffering from all aspects, socially, economically, and in terms of security.
The staff and assistants of the faculties attended the protest in a symbolic form, as some couldn't come due to their financial situation after their salaries have been stopped. The repeated protests and demonstrations at the gate of the United Nations were heard by all people, even by the deaf ones, who compassionated with such issues, except for the United Nations that hasn't spoken a word and becomes out of hearing about what's going on in Yemen daily.
Children in Yemen are the most affected segment from the Saudi-led aggression and blockade, which worsened the health sector in the country. More in the following report.
The Yemeni children between the evil famine and hammer of shillings. The children in Yemen are not like other children all over the world, in which millions of Yemeni children on the brink of famine and acute malnutrition during the unjust blockade imposed by Saudi siege on Yemeni seaports and airports led to preventing access food and medicine to Yemen. The reports of the United Nations talk about the worst catastrophe for the most impoverished country in the whole world. The statement of the UN Organization for Children, UNICEF, clarified that about 400,062 children suffer from acute malnutrition at a rate of 200% in a comparison with the year of 2014. The regional director for Middle East organization in UNICEF confirmed that more than 11 million Yemeni children are in urgent need for the humanitarian assistance, considering Yemen is the worst country for children. The UN official also confirmed that 1 child dies every 10 minutes due to the preventable diseases, in which 1 million children suffer from average malnutrition. The war against Yemen killed and injured more than 5,000 children within 2 years and a half, in addition to huge damages inflicted on thousands of schools and hospitals. As well as the health situation in Yemen faces the risk of collapse due to targeting of hospitals led to stopping them of war. Furthermore, the relief organization confront difficulties to reach humanitarian assistance due to the siege imposed against Yemen under silence of the United Nations and connivance of the international community on the unjust war and siege on Yemen.
The General Authority for Land Transport Affairs organized a workshop on deliberate target of land transport by Saudi tourism, as well as the destruction of bridges, roads and transportation vehicles. More in this report.
The General Authority for Land Transport Affairs organized a workshop in which the big losses and damages and the destruction of the infrastructure due to Saudi terrorism and blockade on Yemen were discussed. The authority aims at confronting the challenges and obstacles. The General Authority could overcome some obstacles despite the big challenges. The workshop showed the magnitude of the losses of transport sector and the direct targeting of land ports, which are the core of Yemen's economy and development. The destruction of land ports, roads and bridges lead to the isolation of the governorates and losses of tens of millions of dollars.
تم تدمير ميناء الطوال البري تدميرا كاملا.
At-Tuwal and Alb ports were totally destructed, and Saudi mercenaries control Al-Wadi'a and Shihin ports.
والعدوان وحلفاء على الموانئ الأخرى التي هي الوديعة وشحن.
The participants called on Saudi regime to stop its terrorism and blockade on Yemen, confirming that Saudi terrorist regime is very determined to close all Yemeni ports to isolate Yemen from the world without paying attention to the international laws and conventions.
الأضرار التي ألحقت بمنشآت الهيئة النقل البري وميناء الطوال البري.
The sum of transport's loss is about $19 million, not to forget mentioning that 543 cargo trucks and 254 gas trucks were destroyed and cost about $70 million. On the sidelines of the workshop, a photo exhibition of the destruction of transport sector committed by Saudi terrorist regime was held.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, back to today's headlines. President Saleh confirms that SPC is the only legitimate ruler in Yemen. New wave of Saudi terrorist attacks on Yemeni governorates. Yemeni academics stage protest in front of the United Nations office in Sana'a. Thanks for watching and good night.